How does a director follow up a masterclass in psychological body horror by delivering a postpartum nightmare that oscillates wildly between somber Nordic art house and gratuitous fountain-like splatter comedy? Hit like and subscribe, and let's dive deep into Nightborn. In Nightborn, a Finnish woman named Saga and her British husband John relocate to a secluded, decaying family homestead deep in the Finnish woods, hoping to renovate the estate and raise a newborn in pastoral isolation. But after a traumatic, agonizing birth, their infant, Kuura, displays an aversion to sunlight, a severe physical hostility, and an escalating appetite that modern medicine and polite domestic rationalization simply cannot explain. So, like, audiences walking in expecting like an icy, calculated restraint of modern elevated horror like The Witch or Hatching will quickly find themselves disoriented by a film that constantly pivots into chaotic, tactile absurdity. It wears the skin of a somber psychological study of parental estrangement, yet underneath it pulses with the messy, unfiltered energy of an unhinged midnight creature feature. The film kind of opens up with like a quiet, creeping dread, but with like comically exaggerated like delivery sequence where the blood, it just basically sprays from the vagina onto Ron Weasley.
I thought you knew what you signed up for. Yeah, I thought I did too.
So yeah, you get this immediate clash between somber psychological drama and Peter Jackson style slapstick gore, like from Dead Alive, Brain Dead. There's a scene where the baby like violently rips out an earring out of her grandmother's ear, and it's just like blood just spurting, like it's just ridiculous. I'm like, what am I supposed to get from this movie? Is it supposed to be like emotional tension in one scene, and then it's like straight midnight movie horror comedy? It was so strange. But I have to give it to Sadie Haarla, who's the main character and the mother in this. She delivers a phenomenal central performance, anchoring the chaotic script by portraying a mother genuinely suffocating under maternal detachment, biological exhaustion, and a quiet horror of perceiving her own newborn as an alien predator thing. And Rupert Grint, he's perfectly fine in the role, but he's like, he's probably why people are watching. He's the biggest star in the movie, but he has a overwhelmed English husband serving his narrative purpose as the baffled audience surrogate, even if the script gives him little to do beyond looking stressed and confused. But I mean, like, from the opening scene, you can kind of tell like this couple is a little weird. I guess it's supposed to prepare us, the audience, for like this domestic dynamic that was never really stable to begin with. But there's things I like about the movie. I think there is sort of a tinge of body horror in it, as it like captures like, I don't know, it's like a raw, taboo, physical toll of childbirth with genuine edge. It doesn't shy away from like the literalization of like trauma many women experience but rarely see depicted with this level of like visceral bite. I have to give the movie due to for the practical animatronics. You see the baby. The baby's face is not ever shown until the very end. And just some real gore and everything has like this tangible, grimy weight that outshines like just generic digital creature work that you would see in lower budget films like this. And this cello-driven score by Apocalyptica's founding member gives the decaying wilderness an oppressive ancient rumble that sustains atmospheric dread, even when the visual tone sort of stumbles. The director's previous film, Hatching, examined suffocating suburban perfectionism from the eyes of a child trying to please a mother. Nightborn acts as the creative mirror, dissecting the isolation and inadequacy of a mother unable to connect with her child. But I want to talk about the ending a little bit, so if you don't want to get spoiled, just skip to the chapter below. You'll see my spoiler-free overall thoughts and my final score. So let's talk about that ending. So when Kuura's escalating bloodlust becomes undeniable, John panics and attempts to break the isolation by forcibly taking the child away. This desperate bid to reassert civilized control triggers a violent response from the environment itself. The ancient forest reclaims the rotting house, sending massive roots tearing up through the floorboards to fatally impale John right in front of Saga. Rather than retreating into horror or mourning her husband, John's death shatters Saga's lingering maternal alienation. recalling her mother's revelation that Saga was similarly untamable as an infant. She sheds the artificial performance of civilized motherhood, sits beside her feral child, and feeds on John's remains, and letting Kuura go into the ancient forest wilderness. So, I mean, if you viewed through a psychological lens, the monstrous traits and the literalized blood drinking represent severe postpartum psychosis, sensory overload, and the intense guilt of failing to bond with a difficult newborn while surrounded by a domestic support system that constantly minimizes her distress. The folkloric interpretation reframes the traditional Scandinavian changeling myth. Kuura isn't a stolen baby replaced by an external woodland spirit. The child's feral physiology is an inherited dormant genetic trait from Saga's own lineage, fully activated when the couple consummated their relationship beneath the canopy of the primeval woods. John acts as the ultimate outsider, an English pastor's son trying to impose structured domestic etiquette, clinical logic, and a polite compromise onto the untamable pagan landscape. His violent destruction is the narrative purging the artificial nuclear family unit to allow the raw natural world to take over. The film weaponizes the creature horror to articulate the unspoken shame of postpartum revulsion, literizing the emotional and physical draining of a mother through an infant that refuses milk and demands bloody flesh. And the modern social expectations demand clean, sanitized parenting. But the story argues that the true maternal instinct for Saga requires the total annihilation of modern etiquette in favor of raw biological nature. The decaying fungus-choked homestead functions as a direct bodily extension of Saga's physical trauma, linking torn flesh and postpartum exhaustion directly to the crumbling timber and invasive roots. Nightborn is a fascinating, frustrating contradiction of a movie. Hanna Bergholm swings for the fences with incredible practical creature effects, a deeply committed lead performance from Sadie Haarla, and an uncompromising willingness to explore the messy taboo corners of postpartum dread. But its inability to reconcile its prestige, slow burn art house ambitions with cartoonish, geysering splatter comedy leaves the final product feeling narratively disjointed and tonally confused. So if you're like a diehard practical effects enthusiast or someone who appreciates wild, unhinged genre swings that refuse to play by standard studio rules, there is plenty here to keep you engaged. But as a cohesive psychological horror piece, it continually trips over its own blood-soaked excess. So I'm giving Nightborn a 2.5 out of 5. But what did you think of Nightborn? Let me know down in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button and consider subscribing. If you want to support the channel a little further, hit that join button down below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.